Aloha und herzlich willkommen zu Triathlon Podcast.
Bienvenue und Aloha zu einer neuen Folge von Nizza Calling, der gemeinsamen Serie mit Profi-Triathletin Svenja Thoes. Und heute geht's ähnlich wie bei der letzten Folge auch um das Thema Ernährung. Und dazu haben wir einen englischsprachigen Partner von Svenja eingeladen. Das heißt, nach einer kurzen Einleitung von Svenja und mir steigen wir dann direkt in das Gespräch ein mit Leighton von SFuels, einem der Partner von Svenja. Und das Gespräch wird in englischer Sprache stattfinden. Und kleiner Disclaimer vorab, diese Podcast-Folge enthält aus meiner Sicht unbezahlte Werbung. Wichtig, weil wir sprechen über Produkte, wir nennen auch häufiger den Namen, den Markennamen und dementsprechend würde ich ganz gerne diese Podcast-Folge auch als Werbung deklarieren. Und im Anschluss an den englischsprachigen Part reflektieren Svenja und ich nochmal ganz kurz und geben einen kleinen Ausblick auf das, was ursprünglich geplant war, weil die Folge ist Ende Mai aufgenommen worden. Das heißt, nicht wundern, wenn wir über ein Rennen sprechen, was in der Zwischenzeit verschoben wurde. Okay? Jetzt habe ich genug gebabbelt. Jetzt geht's auch direkt los mit der Folge. Super interessant, solltest dir unbedingt anhören. Bonjour und bienvenue zu einer weiteren Ausgabe von Nizza Calling, dem Format mit Profi-Triathletin Svenja Thoes, wo ich sie auf ihrem Weg zur Ironman oder Iron Woman Weltmeisterschaft in Nizza im September diesen Jahres 2024 begleiten darf. Servus Svenja, wie geht's dir heute?
Ja, hi Marco, danke, alles gut soweit. Gestern war ein super schöner Tag. Heute ist immer ein bisschen regnerig, von daher ist die Stimmung vom letzten Tag noch auf heute umgeschwappt.
Du, dann komm rum hier nach Frankreich. Hier ist Wetter super genial. Wir hatten Wochenende auch, ist an die 30 Grad, ja. Und wow. Sonnenschein. Heute ein bisschen belegt oder bedeckt. Es ist leichter Regen angesagt für eine halbe Stunde. Und aber so der Ausblick für die nächsten Tage ist auch so konstant, so 25 Grad, Sonnenschein. Hammer genial. Deswegen, komm rum.
Mega, ja, das klingt gut. Nee, bei uns muss ich jetzt so sagen, die letzten 3 Wochen waren es vielleicht 4 schöne Tage am Stück. Also nicht am Stück, sondern insgesamt. Aber
bei dir war auch wieder einiges los jetzt im Mai, ne? Habe ich gesehen. Ich glaube, du warst beim Apfelland-Triathlon, gell?
Ja, genau, richtig. Das ist ja so mit mein Lieblingsrennen, muss ich ehrlich sagen. Die Stimmung ist da echt super toll und obwohl meine Laufleistung leider noch nicht da ist, wo ich sie gerne hätte, wollte ich das trotzdem mitnehmen, das Rennen. Und es hat Gott sei Dank noch bis aufs Podium gereicht. Den 2. Platz muss ich dann abgeben. Ja, ich bin in die T2 mit der späteren Siegerin eingefahren, aber ja, sie ist dann einfach weggelaufen. Ich konnte dann einfach nicht folgen. Und wurde dann nachher auch noch eingeholt auf der Laufstrecke. Das war dann schon bitter, aber ja, ich bin trotzdem happy mit dem Podium.
Hey, komm, ich meine, wir hatten es schon in der letzten Folge. Ich meine, du hast lange Zeit eine Laufpause machen müssen wegen Lauftechnik, Umstellung und das hatten wir im April-Update bereits besprochen. Und von daher kannst du eigentlich happy sein, also mit der Entwicklung. Also ich habe so einen Trend nach oben gesehen, auf jeden Fall. Und hatte hier und da auch an den Livestream vom Apfelland reingeschaut und habe dich da so gesehen und dachte mir, wow, die ist gut unterwegs. Cool.
Ja, ich muss ganz ehrlich sagen, also ab Kilometer 2 war das echt nur noch der absolute Horror beim Laufen, weil mir fehlen tatsächlich die Kilometer und mit jedem, mit dem ich spreche, muss ich echt verblüffend sagen, dass meine Stärke eigentlich jetzt meine Schwäche wurde. Aber ich denke, das Ganze kann ich nochmal umdrehen, weil ich merke tatsächlich so jede Woche, bekomme ich das Gefühl des Laufens Gott sei Dank wieder.
Schön. Und komm, ich meine, es ist immer noch Anfang der Saison, ja? Also.
Ja, das stimmt. Ja, das stimmt. Und mein Ziel ist definitiv Nizza Ende des Jahres, im September. Und ja, bis dahin habe ich ja noch ein paar Monatchen, Gott sei Dank, Zeit und mal schauen, wie die Leistung dann in Rot sein wird. Das ist natürlich auch noch so eine gewisse Wundertüte, aber da freue ich mich auch riesig drauf.
Take it easy. Wie gesagt, bis September ist noch ein bisschen hin und einfach geduldig dranbleiben und weiter arbeiten an der Lauftechnik und überhaupt am Training. Genau. Und mir ist nur aufgefallen, ich habe auch einen Screenshot gezeigt auf Insta in meiner Story, weil so aus dem Livestream vom Apfelland Triathlon rausgezogen, du hast einen coolen Helm aufgehabt, du.
Ja, danke.
Der sah spacig aus.
Ja, das ist meine Mutter sagt immer, das ist der Topf, weil wenn ich mal nichts zu essen habe, dann kann ich den zum Kochen nehmen.
Kannst ihn umdrehen.
Genau.
Irre. Er hat mich ein bisschen an Star Wars erinnert.
Ja, doch, deswegen, also das ist so ganz, ganz lustig einfach. Ich wollte was Besonderes haben und dann sind wir auf den Helm gestoßen und ja, den fand ich einfach cool, weil der einfach besonders ist. Der eine sagt besonders doof, aber ja, ich finde, ja.
Es ist nicht doof gemeint hier, von meiner Stelle, überhaupt nicht, ja. Es sieht halt echt, fällt direkt ins Auge und dachte mir, wow, der ist cool, der Helm. Das besprechen wir das nächste Mal.
Ja, nee, ich dachte auch, und das ist so der Topf.
Nice.
Wir sagen immer, er hat den Topf dabei.
Steht dir auf jeden Fall gut und
Danke.
Ja, ich meine, Radperformance war ja auch cool im Abland.
Ja, beste, tatsächlich. Das war gut. Ja, man merkt halt tatsächlich, wenn eine Sportart wegfällt und man eben nur noch in Anführungszeichen 2 trainiert, hat man halt mehr Körner für diese 2 Sportarten, anstatt von, wenn man 3 trainieren muss. Von daher, irgendwas hat ja auch irgendwas gut, also alles schlechter oder was Gutes. Von daher ist die Radperformance enorm gut momentan. Ich bin manchmal selbst beängstigt, was ich so leisten kann auf dem Rad. Aber ja, ich könnte mir vorstellen, dass das ein oder andere Watt dann vielleicht auch nochmal schwindet, wenn ich nochmal laufe, weil eben, ja, der Körper immer so in der Balance sein muss. Aber muss nicht sein. Also hoffen wir mal, dass es so stehen bleibt.
Ja. Du, welche Nutrition oder welche Verpflegung nutzt du beim Rennen?
Genau, ich bin seit letztem Jahr Hawaii bei SFuels und das ist eine ganz interessante Angehensweise, nämlich die Gels bzw. die Rennverpflegung ist auch ein bisschen auf Fettbasis. Das heißt, es ist ein gewisser Anteil von Fettanteil in der Nutrition. Ja. Und es gibt verschiedene Typen von Menschen und ich habe relativ schnell gemerkt, ich esse super gerne Chips oder salzige Nüsse oder was fällt mir jetzt gerade noch ein? Also ja, irgendwie Nussbutter, also alles irgendwie, was fettig ist.
Okay.
Und zum Beispiel viele Freundinnen von mir, die gehen halt voll ab auf Gummibärchen und Schokolade. Gut, Schokolade esse ich jetzt auch gerne, aber also desto süßer, desto besser. Und das ist bei mir tatsächlich nicht der Fall. Und dann bin ich relativ schnell auf den Trichter gekommen, ich könnte es ja mal ausprobieren, auch mit Fett beim Sport. Und dann habe ich gemerkt, das bekommt mir eigentlich ganz gut. Und so bin ich eben auf SFuels gestoßen, die mich angesprochen hatten letztes Jahr in Kona. Okay. Und dann habe ich gesagt, ja, ich würde es gerne mal ausprobieren. Und ja, bis jetzt fahre ich damit ganz gut. Und für die jetzt denken, das ist ja auch irgendwie nicht zielführend, das ist ja so ohne Kohlenhydrate zu agieren. Nee, das ist auch nicht der Fall. Nämlich, das ist keine ketogene Ernährung, die ich mache, sondern da ist einfach nur ein gewisser Anteil von, MCT-Fetten in der Rennverpflegung mit drin. Und wenn man in höhere Zonen geht, die nennen das Zone 5, das ist dann tatsächlich ein ganz normales Gel mit primär Maltodextrin und Fructose-Mischung, genau.
Hatte ich vorher noch nicht auf dem Radar. Ich kannte das Unternehmen noch gar nicht. Lustig ist, weil es hat eben hier im Zoom halt Ding-Dong gemacht. Und wir haben nämlich beide eine Verabredung mit dem Leighton, mit dem Founder, mit dem Gründer von SFuels. Und deswegen würde ich sagen, lassen wir mal den Leighton rein. Und switchen gleich mal in Englisch, weil der kommt aus Amerika. Und,
richtig.
Das heißt, Info an dich da draußen. Jetzt mach mal einen kleinen, kein Break, aber wir switchen jetzt die Sprache, gehen in Englisch und erfahren im Verlauf der nächsten Minuten ein bisschen mehr über SFuels. Viel Spaß dabei. So, our today's guests in this Nizza Calling series with Svenja is Leighton Phillips. You're the founder and product director of SFuels, right?
Yeah. Hi, Marco. Nice to meet you. We started SFuels back in 2018, actually. That's right.
So you are based in US, right?
Yeah, we're on the East Coast in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is it's about a 4-hour drive south of New York.
You mentioned 2018. What was the driver of the idea to kick off SFuels?
Yeah, I guess a lot of innovation in this sport that we're part of is, athletes and coaches identify like a gap in the marketplace. And for us at the time, it was, big ultra. We were based in Hong Kong at the time. And this is just a very large trail running ultra scene in Hong Kong. I had done triathlon as a teenager. But we were just observing increasing levels of gut and GI distress in the sport. And that's probably what triggered it initially. And it was really at a later time that we got, collaborating with both professional athletes and, performance labs to really understand also what some of these different nutrients and substrates were doing from a fueling and performance perspective. But initially it was very much about inflammation and gut GI distress is really what initially drove us to start, dabbling and trying fuels that were not inherently just a sugar-based products,
Sure.
So that's when we started. Yeah.
Sure. So that means that while you were living in Hong Kong, you were also doing kind of trail running, ultra running, because I was living in Hong Kong for a while as well, and I heard about the Dragon Trail.
Yeah, there's actually, so over that particular trail, so firstly there's probably 300 or 400 kilometers of trails in Hong Kong, and it's magic really because if you've lived in Hong Kong, you know that it's either mountain or seaside, right? There's not much flat in Hong Kong.
True.
So there's plenty of trails. That one you're referring to, there used to be a series globally run by North Face, the North Face 100. Mm-hmm. And it ran over that trail you're referring to, and it's there's actually kind of 9 peaks on that particular trail. I think there is now a race called the Nine Dragons that runs over the top of that.
But you were taking part as well, or you were trail running?
Yeah, back to your question. I've run UTMB 3 different races at UTMB in Chamonix in Hong Kong. To qualify for that, I had to run I think 3 100K races. And that whole part of Asia, there's just a lot of trail running. So yeah, I did it Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's tough. I mean, 100K running, it's
wow.
It's amazing.
Yeah, well, UTMB, at least at the time, you either had to run a 100 miler or 3 100Ks just to get a ticket to put into the lottery. And it goes into the lottery, and then usually in December they draw the lottery, and you work out whether you've got a spot at UTMB in Chamonix. So that was 2018 also, actually. 2016 I ran UTMB.
Okay, so then in 2018 you came up with the idea to start your own company, basically.
So my background, I studied in nutritional medicine, naturopathic medicine. My wife is ex-Nestle, the food company out of Switzerland. Mm-hmm. We felt like we could do a better job on how the market was being served. And we began initially, the first product that we were playing around with was a bar product. It wasn't a drink it wasn't a drink product. It was a bar product. Okay. And we were playing around ourselves, and then we engaged with a lab in California, and they started working with us to develop that. And from there we started diversifying. We always knew that obviously we would need drink products and bar products and gel products. It just takes time. It's much bigger than we ever thought when we got started.
Sure. But it's a big step. I mean, I hear that before that you were basically working in corporate, right?
Yeah. So I still been in the tech industry for, I guess, 30 years.
Yes.
But before I started in the tech industry, that's when I had studied and practiced in naturopathic medicine. And, I really at the time, it was more part-time in terms of just, hey, we think we could create a better product. And Nicole helped, lead some of that. And I was really working, just contributing from a product development perspective and a nutritional ingredient perspective. That's really my background.
Yeah.
The US has, we felt, a very sound manufacturing base. The quality was where we wanted it. So we've engaged now, I think, 3 or 4 different factories that have really helped work with Nicole and I and the rest of the SFuels team on developing this portfolio.
Okay. But I can imagine that now you're making it full-time, right? I mean, running the business full-time.
Yeah, we have a group of full-time and contracted specialists, I would say.
Yes.
We have a board that is made up of, you've probably heard of some of these folks like Bob Babbitt,
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Dan Plews,
Yes.
Dr. Mickey Williden, and Dave Scott joined our company actually in 2018 when we had developed our first drink training product. For Zone 2 training. We started working with Dan back then, and we came to Kona. He went after the world record for the age group in Kona. And whilst we were there, we were approached by Dave Scott, and Dave joined the company back then and gave us a lot of mentoring and guidance. But a lot of those folks, and still today, continue in a contract capacity with the company.
Sure.
And that really helps just mentor us and guide us, whether it's at a technical level or a business level.
Yeah, sure. But also, I mean, I can imagine that building or setting up your own company is a big step out of the comfort zone when you were working in corporate before,
Yeah, I mean, it is, and you got to take a step at a time. It's a bit like, this sport that we're part of, and
sure.
you toe the starting line, and you don't really know what's going to happen on the day, on a race day. It's I think very similar for starting your business. Like, you put your best foot forward, you feel like you've got some experience to contribute, and along the way you learn a ton about yourself, right? And you have to have a real passion for it, because you probably won't finish if you don't. It's really tough.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when did you meet up with Svenja?
Well, Nicole, our general manager, CEO of SFuels, she was with Bob. Bob Babbitt was running the breakfast show in Kona last year, as he most years runs it. And we started working with Bob a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So usually we first met him at the Utah World Championships, actually,
Yes.
Ironman World Championships. And anyway, obviously he does a lot of work with us on all of his interviews, but several races a year, we try to be physically present with Bob. And in Kona last year, Nicole was leading that activity there in Kona. And like all of the pro athletes, they come through to be interviewed by Bob. And we had not met Svenja before, and Nicole got to meet her, and we were delighted, with getting to know a little more about Svenja's background and just where she came from. And frankly, probably a lot of parallels to even the SFuels business. But we immediately just felt very attracted to working with Svenja, and we're really just getting started still. The season's new.
Okay, wow. So that means you guys met first time last year in October in Kona.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I didn't know Leighton. I didn't met him in person yet.
Right.
But thank the internet, we are pretty familiar already.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
You dropped the name Zone 2, and when people are checking out your website, they can find out even more about your products. What distinguishes your products from others on the market?
Yeah, from the very beginning, and I would just say that as the more research we do, we're more like a technology company which continues to test and evolve and move from generation to generation as we learn more.
Yes.
When we began with Dave Scott's guidance, we felt like we wanted to first develop a training product which is quite different than most companies that start in this segment. They would begin with a racing product. They think it's all about race day. At the end of the day, it is, I guess, in a sense, about competitiveness and racing, sure. But we began really trying to understand how these different substrates or fuels can either accentuate or improve the efficiency by which different energy systems in the body can be supporting, endurance performance, or some nutrients can actually take away from performance. And so we started working with that. We developed a product that was specific to Zone 2, which is really trying to accentuate and improve aerobic efficiency, which, whether you're a pro tour cyclist or an age grouper or an Ironman, still Zone 2 aerobic capacity is the foundational platform to build any, performance. And even in the middle of the race season, if you talk to a Tour de France team, you'll find that they are still doing the majority of their training in Zone 2. So we started there on really developing products that would, like I say, accentuate the classic elements of aerobic capacity, which improving fat oxidation efficiency, improving mitochondrial density. I mean, these are key aspects associated with aerobic capacity. And really since then, Marco, we've been building, if you will, up the stack across each of those different zone intensities that, we train our body at, whether it's Zone 4 and ultimately VO2 max. And each of those need, different nutrients to optimize how the metabolism works at those intensities. I would say our differentiation in the marketplace is that we coined the term right fuel, right time, because it's very true. The way the metabolism works is that the metabolism uses different fuels and substrates as the intensity rises. So it's not just about carbohydrate, it's not just about fat, it's not just about certain amino acid proteins, but the mixture of how the body uses those different substrates changes. And that's what's very much a differentiation of our product portfolio to anything else on the market. And we had to build specific intellectual property, like actual new ingredients, with chemistry labs and factories, etc., to put into these products. And that's now what's on the market.
Okay. So what kind of ingredients do you have?
I guess, again, if you just look at as you go from Zone 2 right through to Zone 5, we have a core ingredient, which is a fusion between two fatty acids, which you would define them as medium chain triglycerides or medium chain fatty acids. And we bind them with glutamine. And those three components are all substrates, they're all fuels themselves, but they are not themselves a carbohydrate source. They don't raise the blood sugar response. And the reason for that is that we're really trying to have a baseline of optimizing fat oxidation so that we can become very efficient in that process of first using fat for fuel so that we can preserve really the small amount of glycogen that liver and muscles can hold. And, it's somewhere around 2 to 3 hours, depending upon intensity. That's all we have in the way of glycogen. So we built this ingredient that's really trying to optimize how the body uses and accesses fat for fuel. Okay. And as I say, you build from our Zone 2 product into the Zone 4, Zone 5 products. Then we begin to add more classic, carbohydrate sources that the body will use as you raise the intensity.
Okay.
We have a number of other ingredients that we work a lot with, caffeine and carnitine, all focused on further upregulating that either breakdown, transport, or oxidation of fatty acids for fuel. As we work with professional athletes, whether it's like Svenja or age groupers, a lot of the work we do is helping them to shift from most athletes, of course, are coming from a very carbohydrate-centric fueling mechanism or approach. And we're really just trying to help them transition from that to becoming extremely efficient in fat oxidation efficiency and glycogen preservation. And you'll start to see it in the numbers in the labs with these athletes.
Yeah.
We've had athletes that have tripled their fat oxidation efficiency, and as a function of that, gone from 10.5-hour Ironman to 8.5-hour Ironman, age grouper, middle of the pack, to winning a world championship age group. So we've done that a number of times. We see the changes in the labs. We see the changes on the race course.
I like the approach of a zone-based nutrition. So, Svenja, what are your experiences so far with SFuels?
Yeah, like I just said in the intro, when Leighton was not with us yet, I think there are different types of people, and I really like fatty stuff, and I always really liked it. So before I met Nicole and the company SFuels, I was always trying my nutrition on the bike, like just eating nuts on the long rides, or I even put like the fatty cream in my drink bottle to have a lot of calories, but not too many carbs, as I got a lot of problems with my gut in 2022, and it got worse and worse. And I think it was the reason for that was that people told me try to go with 110 gram per carbs per hour, and I really put in these high numbers of carbohydrates, and then my liver, my blood, I did blood works, and my liver enzymes were crazy high. And we didn't know where it came from. And it was just such, Leighton knows it better probably, it was just like a high inflammation in my body because of overeating. And then when I met Nicole and she told me, well, it's fat-based nutrition, I really, really liked the idea. And I really thought I can do all my races, even the high-intensity stuff with fat-based nutrition. But I really noticed quite fast that this is not possible, and that is the reason why SFuels has different kind of products, and it's not like a ketogenic diet at all. That's the thing what a lot of friends and people that don't really go into the SFuels idea think about the company, and then I'm saying no, it's not a ketogenic diet based nutrition. It's just like the right fuel, right time
approach.
Idea.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think just the birthplace of where we started, Marco, and the evolution from our original Zone 2 product into higher intensity training and racing products is, to Svenja's point, is, there's a place for fat, there's a place for carbohydrate, and really it's just a function of, as you raise that intensity, you're raising that mixture between, carbohydrate and fat. And, we have athletes, professional athletes that are racing at 90 grams per hour. And for them, that's what works best, carbohydrate. But I also know that those same athletes are burning, 1.5 grams of fat per minute, which is just massive amounts of energy they're sourcing from fat. So this is not about, it's nothing to do with ketogenic diet. In many respects, I would not even really say it's classically low carb. We still have these athletes that after they finish their workouts, they're still having a healthy dose of, whole food carbohydrate. And we absolutely support that. I think what's important is really in training, how are you optimizing, the various enzymatic systems associated with the breakdown of these different fuels and substrates, whether it's fat or carbohydrate or proteins. That is highly trainable. The same way that we can highly train our aerobic system or our VO2 max or thresholds, etc., that elements associated with fat oxidation efficiency, with glycogen preservation, they're highly trainable. And I think once people see the numbers starting to shift, they become advocates for this.
Yeah. Also, I like that Dave came on board pretty soon because he brings a lot of experience to the table, and a lot of experience is also from coaching other athletes. So
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, and in the middle of COVID too, we had Zach Bitter join us. Zach, he had just before engaging us, he set his first world record for the 100-mile on the track, 11 hours, 9, I think it was. And then, COVID came along, of course, and a lot of the racing shut down. So we had started working with Zach on both our products and, like Svenja, using the products. And but he wanted to go after another 100-mile world record, and he ended up doing a treadmill 100-mile world record with us. And if you go back and look at the data, it's basically doing 100-mile intervals at 7+ minute miles. So if there's a question about can you really run high intensity with this, we've got so many proof points now of not being a problem. If you look at the data on the day when Zach set that world record, he was really at that point 40 grams of carbohydrate per hour and still running back-to-back 100 by 7-minute miles. So, I think as you get that efficiency between these different energy systems, your reliance on consuming carbohydrate in races, goes away. You still take carbohydrate in, there's no question. But these obscene amounts we hear today of 100 grams, 120 grams per hour, it's just, A, it's not healthy, and B, it's just not necessary.
Yeah. Maybe stupid question, but what does these S stand for in front of fuels?
So I'll give you the birthplace, what it stood for, and then I'll talk to you the way we look at it now.
Okay.
When we firstly began developing products, that like the first bar product I talked about, and frankly every product since then, we do a lot of work to understand how the product works with blood sugar regulation. And originally we were, in fact, the company name that firstly got registered was Spike Free. And the SF stood for Spike Free. And that's because we were testing every product for how it spikes, or what we were looking for, how it doesn't spike, the blood sugar response. Yeah. And that was all to do with as soon as you raise those blood sugars very fast, you have an insulin response, and that insulin response shuts down, fat oxidation efficiency. So those early products where we were looking at, efficient calories and fueling without having a blood sugar spike and without an insulin response, that was kind of the birthplace of the brand and the name. And then we had much smarter marketing people come along, and they told us that wasn't a good idea. And we changed to SFuels. And I guess the way we look at it now as we think about this right fuel, right time construct is that we talk about specific fuels. And, the athletes and coaches, by and large, are very conscious of the concept of specificity and training specific, workouts relative to a target race. And in many respects, that is exactly what SFuels is about, is specific fuels for specific training, for specific racing. And that will change relative if you're doing a 1 mile on a track versus a 100-mile ultra. It's a very different fueling system.
Of course, yeah. Here's Svenja, a stupid question, but did you do a 100-miler or 100-kilometer race? I mean, running only?
That's definitely on my schedule in the next 4 to 5 years, though. Not before that.
Crazy, yeah. Wow.
No, I think it's impressive. I have a friend. She did an ultra race on a dried out lake. I don't know where it is, but I think that was so boring and crazy, hard mentally, especially.
Sure.
I need to do this one time at least, just see how long I can go.
I mean, I also have a friend who did ultra run in the US, where he got a belt buckle afterward as a finisher prize. And I also heard about Badwater, and also in Switzerland, there's this 100K race in Biel, pretty famous. But I mean, from my perspective, I couldn't imagine to finish a 100K run. Yeah, crazy. But never say never, yeah.
Yeah,
never say
never. The scenery you guys have in Europe, bud, is amazing. So a lot of these races are through the mountains, and it's
true.
It's absolutely amazing.
It is, yeah. Companies based in the US, but the products, SFuel products, they are also available in Europe.
Actually, we manufacture all on the West Coast, although our gel product that we've just started with, that does get manufactured on the East Coast in the US. So everything's in the US, Marco.
Yeah, but also the products. I mean, for instance, a listener of this podcast is curious about trying out SFuels and getting or buying it in Europe. Is that possible in certain shops?
I mean, most of the customers are buying off our US site. We send them across, but you're spot on. Like, we've been approached, 3 or 4 times on distributing in Europe, and we will get to that.
Okay.
To date, I think most of the athletes, I would say 95% of the athletes, are just buying straight off our US site and shipping it across to Europe.
Okay, got it. So it's possible to buy online in your shop.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, okay, got it. And are you guys also thinking about coming over to Nice, to Nizza, in September to have a kind of expo booth there?
Well, we have, we'll be working with Bob in Nice, and then there's 2 things we're probably going to do again. One will be at Kona again. And the second one, because it's kind of a little bit different this year, the 70.3 World Championships down in New Zealand.
Yeah. And
we have a lot of customers and athletes performing at that. And that's Dan Plew's home ground also. So we are kind of planning on probably doing something more material there at the Taupo World Championships, 70.3 World Championships. So I think for this year, it's likely going to be Kona and Taupo where we have physical presence. We are also looking at, the T100 series, and we actually are also looking at the New York City Marathon. So there's a few kind of, what would I say, tier 1 events in the year that we're planning for. We're still trying to understand what the ultimate future is for Ironman World Championships, whether it continues as 2 different locations for the men's and the women's, or whether they bring it back together. Everyone has a different opinion, but it certainly does have a cost, question for companies and athletes, actually. So I think it's kind of maybe getting looked at.
Probably, yeah. We're going to see in the future how the corporation is reacting on certain certain opinions within the field, because it's going to be the first time that the Women World Championship takes place in Nice, and
Right.
I mean, after that we know more for sure. And let's see. I mean, the CEO has changed. And let's see how it's going to turn out. But okay, so I understand that probably you won't be there in Nice physically with a certain booth where people can or could try out SFuels products directly.
I wouldn't say no. We're still evaluating it. We've got some decision points over the next month, in fact, on that. But at this point, definitely Kona and Taupo.
Okay, got it.
I remember a time when not only was the men's and the world and the women's world champs together, but there used to be a time also when every athlete started the swim at once. And to me, that was, I loved that. I mean, I thought that was an awesome part of the whole sport. You had, 2,000, 3,000 athletes take off together, male, women, professional, age groupers all together. And I don't know, maybe there's good reason to split it up, but I used to love the original where everyone all went together. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I did that in 2011 in Frankfurt. That was crazy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was a kind of war zone within the water at the beginning, and I didn't make the mistake to get more ahead of the fields. I was more conservative and ranging at the end of the field and then overtaking, but even then it was pretty tough, but great experience.
That was the sport, right? But that was the sport.
Sure, of course, yeah. And the funny thing was, I mean, you were also seeing the professional athletes going into the water with you together.
Exactly.
But more ranging in front of a field, and
exactly. I mean, there's not many sports at all that you can swim and compete on the same course as the pros. So it's pretty cool.
That's true. So I understand that you still have some time for doing some training for yourself as well, or?
Yeah. My son, I tried to do, one kind of, for me, I'll just say it's like, for me, it's a major race, and then I do some minor races every year. But last year or 2 years ago, I did with my oldest son, we went and did the 70.3 Ironman in Hawaii. And he was, I think it was 19 at the time. And then last year, my youngest son, he ran the Verbier UTMB ultramarathon with me there in Switzerland. So, these last few years, I've enjoyed just doing some of these race experiences with my kids, and it's a great experience just running, with them. And then this year, I'm doing a 70.3 here in North Carolina in October. Okay. May look at an ultra after that, just a 50K ultra, but I've, other than that, just doing some sprint distances locally just to kind of, keep sane. But yeah, that's kind of the plan at this point, Marco.
Love it. I mean, just doing a 50K, yeah. It sounds like a piece of cake.
Only.
Yeah, well, no, it's hard, but I mean, there's 100K is not double a 50K, and 100 miler is not 4 marathons. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It gets harder, with the distance for sure.
Sure. Well, I mean, the fatigue kicks in after a while, and it's different. Yeah. But it's great that you're keeping, I mean, kind of work-life sports balance, because I can imagine that running a business like SFuels is quite time-consuming. And I mean, my suggestion would be to have a kind of a balance counterpart, that case sports, in order to clean your mind, which probably brings up new ideas and all that stuff. And but you're doing that. It's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have to do it. It just kind of, keeps me balanced. I agree. And you're right. I think as much as, athletes like Svenja and other professional athletes have continued to give us feedback and inputs on the products, just like small things, but they all add up. But even yourself, when you go out and you what looked on paper like a really good idea and a good product, and you go out and try it and you realize it was the worst idea you ever had. So I think using these things yourself with your customers and your athletes, it's the most valuable asset we have is feedback, and really trying to understand what's working and what's not, and how we can modify and improve these products. We'll continue to generationally evolve the products. The product's never done. It will continue to evolve till the day we're done, right? And that's how we have to operate it.
Okay. Just the last question regarding your partnership. I mean, SFuels with Svenja Thoes. So how often do you do some feedback loops like you described?
Yeah, I think there's two aspects to it, and Svenja, speak up too. But from our point of view, firstly, I think the bulk of our collaboration has been more about, just optimally how do we apply the product to best support her training blocks. And, the thing about a first season when we collaborate with an athlete is that, particularly professional athletes, is that what they're doing at the start of the season, what they're doing in the middle of the season, and then as we get into racing season, it's very different training programming. So for the first year, I think there's a lot of collaboration on just kind of bouncing off each other. Hey, am I applying this right? And particularly a product like ours or a portfolio like ours, where you're actually selecting the product relative to the nature of the workout and the nature of the training block. So a lot of the collaboration to date with Svenja has been more backwards and forwards on, she shared with us her training block, and then we would say, well, this is how we would apply it. And then, she'll go and apply it, and then she would find out, well, what about this? Or how does this work? Particularly like, she's applying a lot of multi-workout same day sessions, and how you use these different fuels and substrates when you're coming in and out of a long session in the morning and maybe a high intensity session in the afternoon. So we've been doing a lot of backwards and forwards on that. And then as we came out with our second generation products and got them across to Svenja, she started using them and gave us feedback on some of the gel product and things like that. And, some of it's for us to go and solve and improve. And some of it was more just a confirmation that, hey, this works really well. So, that's kind of what we've been doing to date. I think as we go forward, there's some other product innovations that we're thinking about. And now that Svenja's working with SFuels, we would plan to want to engage her much earlier in the development cycle. The past generation, the second generation product that we just launched, we were already 90% down the development path before Svenja joined us. So I think as we think about the next generation of products, we will probably be sharing with Svenja and our other pros, much earlier for them to give input earlier, Marco.
Okay, understand. For me as an age grouper, I have a taste of a fuel is pretty important. What kind of tastes are you offering?
Yeah,
I need to say something there.
Go ahead.
So the taste of the products, like the Zone 2 products, is pretty unique, I would say. There are different types of different, how do I say that? Like different ideas of people, how a product needs to taste, I guess. But I think the Zone 2 products are pretty easy to drink. It's not too sweet or too sour or whatever. So it goes down really well. Okay. I just tried the new gel, like what I gave feedback right away after trying the Zone 5 gel. I read a comment under the Zone 5 gel. Actually, maybe Nicole or Leighton did see it. The taste of the product is not like, oh my God, I am eating a creme brulee or a super nice chocolate croissant. But at the end, do you want to eat like a super tasty food in your how's it called, in your race, or do you want to perform? That's that's the question I would ask myself. I mean, the gel is, you can really eat it for hours. Let's say that. And
that's a really good point. Actually, that's the first product that we've done as a flavor-free product. And all of our other products, like what Svenja's referring to, like the drink products, there's a flavor that's been added, like a strawberry or a lime or what have you. But in the gel, we actually, similar to our competitors, we've actually taken the flavor out, and it's just sweet. And the reason we do that is that in racing, I'm sure you both would be very familiar with this, is that you get flavor fatigue. You actually get sick of intense flavors in racing. So the gel, we took it out altogether, like, as I say, is similar to our competitors. And it is quite different to, I think, historically, the traditional companies that started gels in our industry. If you go to their website now, they'll have like 40 different flavors, and they're trying to deal with this issue of flavor fatigue. So as Svenja says, we pulled the flavor out of the gel, and it's just like a sweet, it's a very light textured gel. One of the things that we tried to work on with that is that, in the middle of particularly racing, the intensity that we are competing at is that when gels get brought to the mouth, they're squeezed in and swallowed almost immediately. In other words, there's very little time in the mouth. So one of our concerns with that was that, digestion begins in the mouth. The enzymes, particularly for carbohydrate, begins in the mouth. So rather than have a dense gel where you have to squeeze it out and then you swallow it, but it's like a lump that just moves down your throat. What we did with our gel product is, Svenja can talk to this, but it's probably more consistent, like a olive oil slash, and it's not olive oil, but I mean, from a texture perspective, it's more like a honey olive oil kind of fluid than it is a thick gel. So, and the reason we did that is we want the enzymes in the mouth to at least try to touch the gel before it's even swallowed. So it's more fluidic in nature than a thick gel. And that's we've had a lot of positive feedback over that, because as you both know, that in the middle of a race, when you're just trying to keep it all together, swallowing things and digesting things is really hard. So we're trying to simplify that.
Great. Love it. Because as you said, it's sometimes can be difficult. End up into a different situation, which the athlete doesn't want to have okay, wow, makes me curious. Maybe also other listeners of this podcast episodes. So I guess you have a website, which is the URL of this website in order to get more information about SFuels product.
Yeah, you can just Google us, SFuels, or you can just type in sfuelsgolonger.com.
Okay.
And you'll find us there, and all the products are there. I mean, we didn't talk so much to our, recovery products and bar products. I know Svenja's a super,
it's my favorite.
She's an advocate for those products, but it's all up there on the website, Marco.
Recovery products, you have different products or just one, or what is it?
No, we have a interesting shake product. It's just chocolate and vanilla, but in terms of formulation, it's very unique. You've probably heard a lot about ketones over the past several years. Yes. It's a formulation that we have a quite clinical, like a high dose of ketones and whey protein isolate and glutamine. And these are, one of the things we jokingly say to athletes who are, looking for faster recovery, we actually tell them, look, try the product and choose your track workout that that within the day or two after your track workout, you would typically have a lot of delayed onset muscle soreness, right? So choose whatever workout that is. do it without using our Revival product, and then do the same workout a week later with our Revival product and see what happens. And I mean, we're very confident with the way our product responds to accelerated recovery. And anyway, you can see that up there. And then we have a bar product, which is, I think we're now up to like our 4th generation of bar products. Similarly, it's, very high in protein, healthy fats, and what have you. A lot of athletes are using that both as a, pre-workout where they want to be satisfied, but they don't want to, smash their blood sugars going into the workout. So that bar product is being used a lot for that. In fact, we even have a bunch of athletes that are using that during races, but it was really designed for pre-workout and post-workout.
What was the flavor again? Vanilla chocolate or?
Yeah, the bar is vanilla cacao.
Okay.
And then the shake products are both chocolate and French vanilla.
All right. French vanilla. Sounds familiar because I'm living in France here. Awesome.
Yeah.
I could imagine that Svenja would also like cheesecake, maybe.
Well, I really need to say it's not necessary to have more than 2 flavors for the Revival. Not at all.
Sure. Okay.
Not at all. Like, I really thought like maybe I get bored, but I mean, if you get bored, just take the other flavor and you never get bored. So it's really, really good. Like,
nice.
Everything else would be a waste of flavors in the shake, or I don't know. It's
I'm also a friend of simplicity. Yeah, to keep it simple.
Exactly.
And I mean, chocolate and vanilla is basically a no-brainer. Everybody loves it, I would say.
Everybody.
Yeah, most athletes. I mean, post-workout. I mean, we just did we run a weekly video. You can see that up on our site. But we just ran one on, high density, high calorie nutrition for high intensity training blocks. And most athletes, of course, in the form of a shake, a post-workout shake, is they're probably adding, some type of fruits and things to that also. So that obviously has a bearing on the flavors and tastes and what have you also. So I think chocolate vanilla is a good foundation, and then people throw in with banana or whatever it is that they're typically, preferring.
Yeah, and this one is really good. Actually, I use it after my high intensity trainings, and then I put in like 2 bananas and some almond milk. And then sometimes in the evening after my meal, sometimes before I go to bed at like 9:30, whatever, and I feel maybe a little bit hungry still. Then I take a shake and I add some cream and some nuts, and then I just mix it. And then it's really nice as it fills you up, but the blood sugar is not rising like crazy. And the next morning I'm completely fine and good. And I really like it. It's not the same as a regular shake that has only proteins and doesn't give you the happiness of being actually full.
Awesome.
Not hungry.
To wrap up, if you're interested in learning more about SFuels, their products, go check it out, sfuelsgolonger.com. As Leighton mentioned, right fuel, right time. You're also on social media channels like Instagram, I saw. And so there are definitely channels where people can get more information about your products. Leighton, thank you very much for taking the time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much for catching up, Marco, and all the best for your racing season, training season this year.
For you as well, yeah? For the 70.3 and for the, in that case, just 50.
Yeah, I won't be setting any
Just
world
50.
records, but enjoying it. Yeah.
All right. And big shout out goes out to the SFuels team, to Bob Babbitt, Dan Plews, and of course as well.
Mickey.
Right.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure. So thank you again.
Thank you as well. All right. Hey, take care.
Talk soon. Bye. Bye.
Talk soon. Ciao. Wow, das war eine richtig coole Runde mit Leighton, oder? Was meinst du, Svenja?
Nee, ich fand's auch super. Er hat super viel erzählt, war super spannend. Auch so ein bisschen aufgeklärt, was eigentlich die Philosophie hinter dem Produkt ist, fand ich total gut. Und ich hoffe, wir können den einen oder anderen jetzt auch für das tolle Produkt gewinnen.
Ja. Und wie ich so gelernt habe, auch wenn die Marke in Amerika quasi ihre Basis hat, die verschiffen auch oder transportieren auch entsprechend nach Europa. Das heißt, Info an dich da draußen, check nochmal die Website aus. Die haben einen Online-Shop und wenn dich das interessiert, dann einfach bestellen und dann bekommst du es nach Hause geliefert, nach Deutschland sogar, auch da nach Dachregion oder Frankreich, wherever.
Ja, und
Cool.
ich würde auch erst, wenn ich ganz ehrlich bin, wegen dem Porto Kosten, würde ich tatsächlich mal 3 Packungen von diesen Revival Bars, von diesen Riegeln bestellen, weil die sind unglaublich cool, muss ich wirklich sagen. Die kannst du halt immer essen, wenn du noch einen Ticken Hunger hast, aber nicht einen riesen Insulinpeak haben willst. Also du kannst auf lange Radtouren mitholen. Also wie gesagt, kann ich nur empfehlen. Ich habe auch als erstes mal 3 Packungen bestellt und
Nice.
ja.
Hier, was steht noch an im Juni bei dir?
Ja, tatsächlich bin ich mir noch nicht so sicher. Ich habe nämlich jetzt eine Anfrage bekommen vom Triathlon Ingolstadt und der ist, glaube ich, tatsächlich eine der größten Mitteldistanzen in Deutschland. Und jetzt bin ich hin und her gerissen, ob ich jetzt in der Schweiz starte oder in Ingolstadt.
Okay.
Bin noch nicht so sicher. Nächste Woche Schweiz oder übernächste Woche Ingolstadt. Ja, das bin ich noch ein bisschen hin und her gerissen tatsächlich.
Ja gut, das verfolgen wir dann halt so auf Insta. Du berichtest ja meistens
Genau,
so darüber, was
richtig.
so die nächsten Rennen sind und wo du dann am Start bist. Nee, finde ich auch cool. Also Gerhard Budi, Shoutout geht raus an dich, Gerhard, weil der macht auch einen krassen Job dort in Ingolstadt. Und
Ja.
ich habe aber auch gelernt, so Ingolstadt, Allgäu, Roth, die tauschen sich miteinander aus, die pushen sich gegenseitig. Das finde ich richtig cool. Also die helfen sich auch untereinander. Okay, das heißt, da bist du noch am Schwanken und ansonsten geht's dann Juli Richtung Rot, gell?
Richtig, genau. Und deswegen will ich jetzt auch nicht überzocken, insbesondere mit meiner Lauferei. Ich bin, wie gesagt, ja noch nicht da, wo ich sein will. Und desto mehr Rennen ich jetzt mache, weil dann habe ich gesagt, ja, mache ich Schweiz und Ingolstadt. Ja. Aber man verliert halt immer ganz klar 3 bis 4 Tage, muss man einfach so sagen, wenn ein Rennen ist. Klar, man hat noch mal einen Reiz durch das Rennen, aber trotz allem, ja, du fährst dahin, neue Umgebung und so weiter. Also du verlierst eigentlich immer 4 Tage, sagen wir mal so. Und diese 4 Tage, die fehlen mir halt bei einem Rennen. Und wenn ich das jetzt 2-mal mache, dann fehlt mir schon über eine Woche Training.
Ja.
Deswegen, also mir ist Rot doch wichtiger irgendwie als jetzt ein Back-to-Back-Rennen zu machen, Schweiz und Deutschland. Aber jetzt muss ich halt so ein bisschen abwägen, was ich mache. Aber ich will auf jeden Fall in Rot performen. Und ich bin auch eher der Langdistanzathlet und nicht der Mitteldistanzathlet. Von daher ist mein Fokus ganz klar auf der Langdistanz und das wäre in dem Fall Rot und insbesondere der Nizza.
Besprech's mal mit deinem Trainer und ihr werdet schon die richtige Entscheidung treffen, garantiert.
Genau.
Svenja, hey, also hat nochmal mega Spaß gemacht und nochmal vielen Dank, dass du hier Leighton mit reingebracht hast. Fand ich richtig cool. Und dann weiterhin Bon Courage, bleib dran, bleib am Training und bleib gesund, unfallfrei, verletzungsfrei und dann sprechen wir uns bald wieder zum nächsten Update.
Ich freue mich, danke. Das war jetzt eine richtig lange Session, aber super informativ und ich danke dir für deine Zeit, Marco.
Finde ich auch, klasse. Also nochmal Info an dich da draußen, alle entsprechenden Infos zu Svenja, zu unserer Serie, aber auch zu SFuels packe ich in die Shownotizen der heutigen Folge. Kannst dich ganz bequem aus der Podcast-App deiner Wahl dahin klicken. Gleich über den Link halt mir dort auf die Website gehen von SFuels und Svenja hat eben schon gemeint, das Recovery oder Revival schmeckt super lecker, die Bars ebenfalls. Jeder entscheidet das so individuell. Am besten macht man sich selber ein Bild davon, indem man es einfach mal probiert.
Genau.
Also, hier, ganz, ganz liebe Grüße gehen raus an dich und bis bald dann. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Tschüss. Das war die heutige Ausgabe der Nizza Calling Serie zusammen mit Profi-Triathletin Svenja Thoes, wo ich sie im Rahmen dieser Serie auf dem Weg zu ihrem Start bei der Ironman Women Weltmeisterschaft im September in Nizza begleiten darf. Nochmal vielen, vielen Dank an Leighton von SFuels, dass er sich die Zeit dazu genommen hat für dieses tolle Interview. Hat mega Spaß gemacht. Und nochmal Info an dich da draußen, Disclaimer, ich würde ganz gerne diese Podcast-Folge als Werbung deklarieren, weil wir halt sehr, sehr viel über die SFuels Produkte gesprochen haben. Dementsprechend Werbung. Genau. Wenn du jetzt selber neugierig geworden bist, ist ein Kann, kein Muss, ja, um Himmels Willen, check einfach die Links, die wir in die Shownotizen reingepackt haben zur Website von SFuels. Aber du findest dort auch zum Beispiel die Website von Svenja und ihre Social-Media-Kanäle. Folg ihr auf jeden Fall, weil Svenja teilt ziemlich viel über ihren Trainingsalltag, über ihr Profi-Triathlon-Leben und ist mega interessant, kann ich dir nur ans Herz legen. Folg Svenja auf Instagram. Dann habe ich für heute fertig. Dann sprechen wir uns bei der nächsten Folge. Bis dahin, bleibt gesund, unfallfrei, verletzungsfrei. Hier waren Svenja und Marco. A bientôt.